Back, I'm talking to Vijay Mallya. Do you actually stay awake at nights worrying about the debt?
No, I sleep very well at night.
You sleep well?
I'm unperturbed because I know the value of the underlying assets. For instance, the debt of United Spirits is backed by huge assets, by stocks, by brands, and by robust sales and margins. Same with United Breweries. The Kingfisher Airlines debt is backed by a business that is cash flowing, airplanes, airport infrastructure that we have bought and invested in, other forms of capital expenditure. So the debt is represented by certain assets.
You brought up Kingfisher. If you knew then what you know now about the fuel price situation, overcapacity in the Indian market, all the problems that have faced the aviation industry globally, would you still have done it?
In a country like India, with the kind of economic growth that is expected of India going forward, with our middle class, the size of the growing middle class, and more importantly, the geography of our country, where air travel is absolutely essential, and where civil aviation growth goes hand in hand with economic growth, there is a future for air transport in India. Now, what is going wrong? Yes, fuel price is something that we have to contend with, but we can live with it. The fact is that average 26% sales tax that we suffer on top of the basic ATF price. So government is really overtaxing hugely the aviation industry in terms of fuel. The state governments are taxing fuel. And this is one of the most serious disadvantages.
Are you saying that if you took away 26% tax on ATF, you'd be fine?
Oh, our financials would trend dramatically. We have charges that are levied on us, whether it is landing and parking charges, whether they're airport charges, whether they're route.
Is that still true? Do we still have among the highest airport charges in Asia?
Absolutely. The Secretary General of the IATA, Giovanni Bisognani, has written to the Civil Aviation Minister complaining on behalf of IATA that the charges in India are the highest in the world. So that's the second thing. So, if there is a level playing field in terms of fuel price, okay, as well as in terms of the charges,
you'd be okay?
Absolutely. I mean, Kingfisher I can speak of, I think is perhaps one of the lowest cost operators in India, very efficient. We've always believed in the outsourcing model. We have less than 100 people per aircraft. I can guarantee you that my cost of operation is perhaps the lowest in India and comparable even to a SpiceJet or an Indigo. It is
lowest in India. You're willing to say that on the record?
I'm willing to say it on record.
Kingfisher is the lowest cost airline.
Absolutely.
Lower than any of the others?
Absolutely, and I would invite an auditor in to check me out.
Okay. Explain something to me. Naresh Goyal and Jet Airways are said to make a lot of money from their international operations while they have trouble with domestic operations. You, on the other hand, don't seem making any money from international. Why is that?
I'm not so sure Naresh Goyal is making money on all his international routes. Maybe on some he is, but we all know, look, Naresh operates an Airbus 330-200 aircraft to London. Right. I operate the same aircraft to London. The yields are available. MIDT data is available. Everybody else knows everybody else's yields. There's no rocket science. There are no secrets here. So the question of saying that one is losing and one is
you don't think he makes
making money. I'm certainly on the routes that both of us fly. I don't think he's making money
either. You lose
either.
what, 1 crore on London a day?
Oh no, absolutely not. In fact, the loads have picked up quite well. The yields are still lower than I would like to see, but the product has caught on very well. Look, when you launch a long-haul international flight, it takes time. You have to invest in the product. Okay, and
so you're not going to cut back?
I have controlled my international expansion from what it was planned to be.
Right. You cancel the America
what it is today.
But you're going to stick with what it is?
In fact, out of the 5 Airbus 330 aircraft that we have, we fly only 2. Because sometimes it's cheaper to park an aircraft than to fly it.
What happened to that great code sharing type arrangement you had with Naresh Goyal? I remember the two of you arrived out at a press conference with your arm around a distinctly uncomfortable Naresh while you boomed for the cameras, and then damn all seems to have happened.
Actually, we're cooperating in ground handling. We've applied for code share flights. It's all happening.
And an alliance between two guys who hate each other will work?
I don't think that's a fair portrayal. No,
Come on.
Look, at the end of the day, I think we're friends. He is protective of.
What about the beginning of the day then? If you're friends,
he's protective about his business. Yeah. I'm protective about mine. But we're friends, and there is no animosity. I must say, I would admit that
your nose grows longer by the minute. How can you say there's no animosity?
No, there isn't animosity. I have to say this. I mean, first of all, I'm a pretty easygoing guy, and I don't harbor ill will or, I don't like fighting with people. Life's too short to have bad relationships. But yeah, we fight for our space. But we coordinate very well. And
so you think you can work together?
We can work together only because we both realize that there's no point in being stupid.
And there is no alternative in many ways? You need to stick together in times of crisis?
Absolutely. And look, in 4 years, I have built India's largest airline. Today, Kingfisher is India's largest airline, with about 26% market share.
Right.
All right. Jet plus Jet Light is about 25%. Between two of us, it's more than 50% of the total market. If we sort of cooperate with each other, there's more than an even chance that both will benefit.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the passenger will benefit. There's no point being stupid.
All right. But one of the reasons why people want you to fail, and almost there is subliminal interest, is people think that you have too good a time. That you're always seeing partying, you're on these jets, you have this island off the coast of the south of France, you have these big estates, you have this very nice house, that people somehow feel that a guy who has so much fun must be on the verge of bankruptcy. Yeah, how can it work?
Maybe, but that happens only in India. If you take the case of, one of your guests, Lakshmi Mittal, I respect and admire him. He's an Indian, living in London, clearly perhaps the richest man in the UK.
Yeah.
I think even the British people respect and admire him. I think this jealousy factor is largely in India, where if you live well and people look at you, then they hope that you will fail.
And you have felt that, haven't you? That
Absolutely.
There is that sense.
Oh, completely.
He's drunk all day. There's that sense of Vijay Mallya. Yeah?
If I make it, I must drink it.
That's right. There's two other things about you intrigue me. The first is the T20 thing, the fact that you went into the IPL. You actually did amazingly well. I never dreamt you'd get into the finals. I'm not sure you did either. What made you do it?
No, look, I am basically a marketing man at heart. And to me, I know that cricket is almost a religion in this country. So the opportunity to acquire an IPL T20 team was something that appealed to me from day one. The fact that I put my brands on that, the entire team, and the fact that it's a huge opportunity to create value. Look at now the value of those teams. They are independent people commenting on the growing value of the team itself.
Yeah.
It's a sound financial investment as well. Forget about just the huge marketing benefit.
The other thing you're spending a lot of time on is this Formula One thing. Why?
Well, Formula One is perhaps the most exciting sport in the world.
You're a car freak anyway.
I've always been. If you own a team, it's hugely competitive. You are participating in the World Championship. There are only 12. To qualify to participate in the World Championship itself is a big honor. It's something to be appreciated.
You once told me in an interview that your mother says the first word she remembers you saying was car.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nobody, no motorsport enthusiast in this country ever dreamt that there could actually be an Indian Formula One team on the World Championship grid.
Yes.
And I think that was something that was almost unreachable.
So you're doing it as a fan, no, Vijay?
And it's not just a fan. I'm very proud.
Look at the enthusiasm and the passion.
I'm very proud of the fact that finally there's an Indian team on the FIA World Championship grid, and I enjoy myself. Today you're fighting for 1/100th of a second. Even 1 second is too much.
That appeals to you.
Is too much.
Okay. The last area of your life that actually we haven't touched on is politics. you were in the Rajya Sabha, you took campaigning very seriously, and though some of your guys won by in Andhra, nobody really won in Karnataka. Some lost by very low margins, and the general view was that while you got quite a good response wherever you traveled, the party hadn't had enough time to get its act together. So my question to you is, why waste time on a party? Why not just get into it yourself?
No, I did what I did for who I regard as my political mentor, Mr. Ramakrishna Hegde. Right. I think Mr. Deve Gowda summed it up well, saying that the presence of the Janata Party that I was heading at that time in Karnataka cost them 22 seats. Right. That's sort of a backhanded compliment of sorts. But I got into the Rajya Sabha as an independent, don't forget.
And you could do it again. Right?
And I can do it again, absolutely.
So the political bug is still within your system.
I want to contribute to my country, and I know that whatever you say outside Parliament is irrelevant. At least when you're in Parliament, whatever you say is a matter of public record.
So we could actually see Vijay Mallya back in Parliament?
Maybe.
Your image, we talked a little bit about he's drunk all day, or how can he run the companies? You're always partying, you're always surrounded by babes, etc. Is that like Richard Branson only for the sort of public image, or how much of that is the real Vijay Mallya?
I live my brands. My brands are all built on lifestyle. And so, I'm my brand ambassador. But that doesn't mean that I am not serious in what I do, or that I'm necessarily frivolous. That doesn't mean that I don't work hard. At the end of the day, what I do after hours is really my business. And if it helps in promoting...
But in more than two ways,
my brand,
it promotes your business as well. So.
No, like you said, you used a very, very appropriate comparison in Richard Branson. Yeah. I mean, he's a very astute businessman, extremely well respected, but he also does things that, to promote his brand, and which gains a lot of attention. I mean, I remember when he was last in Bombay, we had breakfast together, and the next thing I knew is we was leaping off the Oberoi Hotel.
A final question, will your son take over? What's the succession?
Well, he's 22, he's working for Diageo in London, learning about, the beverage alcohol business. My intention is to put him next into White & Mackay in the UK, let him gain some international experience there, and then he's coming back. So I have a roadmap, like all my businesses, where there's a clear roadmap. There's a roadmap for him as well, and I think by the time he's 24, I'll bring him back here, and he can start off in the business.
Not unlike what your father did. He sent you off to America, he made you work on your own, he brought you back. Of course, the whole thing was accelerated because of circumstances, but there was a similar roadmap as well, wasn't there?
Very similar. Because, at the end of the day, while I moaned and groaned then, I think that was the best thing that my dad did for me. And so I'm doing that for Siddhartha as well.
Vijay, I said, let's see if we can find the real Vijay Mallya. I suspect we may well have. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.